Welcome to the Cooking for Beginners podcast, where I break down the basics, answer questions that maybe you were afraid to ask, and help you feel confident in your own kitchen, one meal at a time. I'm Chef Brian, and today we're diving into a mystery that's frustrated cooks for decades. And the question is, why does chicken breast always come out dry? And here's the surprising answer. It's probably dry before it ever hits the pan. Now, let me explain. See, most beginner cooks, and even a lot of experienced ones, they blame the stove. They think that the heat was too high, or they didn't cook it long enough, or maybe the pan, wrong pan. So they go out and you buy a nonstick pan or a skillet and you try it again, and you still end up with dry, flavorless chicken that needs a half a bottle of ranch just to be edible. You know what I'm talking about. But let me tell you what's really happening, okay? The number one reason your chicken is turning out dry has nothing to do with the pan itself. And it has everything to do with what we call surface moisture. Okay, that's right. If you take the chicken straight from the package and toss it into a hot pan without drying it off, patting it off, what you're actually doing is steaming the outside, okay? That surface moisture instantly turns to steam, and instead of getting a golden brown sear, your chicken just sweats. And once that happens, the chicken starts to release the internal moisture, right? And it's gonna leave you with this chalky sawdust texture that we all unfortunately know too well. So what's the fix? Now, it's incredibly simple actually, and almost no one teaches it. Just pat your chicken dry with a paper towel before you season it. Okay, that's it. You see, when the surface is dry, the chicken can actually sear and not steam. The sear locks in the flavor. It builds color, texture, and most importantly, keeps in the juices right where they belong, inside of the meat. And let me leave you with a second tip here. Take it a little bit further. Let your chicken sit at room temperature for 10 to 15 minutes before cooking. Okay, now understand, cold meat straight from the fridge, it'll cook unevenly. One part gets overcooked while the other part struggles to come up to temperature. Letting it rest on your counter just for a few minutes really helps cook the chicken more evenly, as well as hold in all of the moisture better. Now, hold on. I know what you might be thinking. Chef Brian, isn't that unsafe? Nope. You're totally letting the raw chicken sit out for only 10 to 15 minutes. That's it. Okay? And that's well within the food safety zone, as they call it. All right? Just don't let it sit out for an hour or 2 hours. That's not good. So, again, let me just give you a quick recap. Dry your chicken with a paper towel first. Okay? So there's no water or moisture on the surface. Let it sit out before you start cooking, 10 to 15 minutes to cook evenly. Then season it, okay? And then cook instantly. And it's gonna create this amazing taste and texture, okay? And these are the little things that most beginner cooks just don't learn until they've ruined dinner a few times, right? But if you're learning them now, which I hope you are, and that's what this podcast is all about, these simple little shifts, they can lead to really, really big results. Now, if you're hungry to keep learning, I've got something that'll help even more, all right? It's called the Cooking Made Simple Powerful Ebook, all right? It's a blueprint that I've put together, and it'll teach you amazing fundamentals, like, what kind of salt to use, right? How to prevent foodborne illness. Okay, that's really, really important. If you've ever had food poisoning, it is horrible. The worst sickness ever. Okay? What kind of fats to use? Olive oil, butter, extra virgin olive oil, on and on and on. Okay? How to build a real pantry that sets you up for success. What spices to use, what not to use. All these will build more confidence and diminish the disasters that you may be having in the kitchen, which is going to make you a better cook. And that's what we're all about here. All right. And one last little tip that I would like to share with you. Sometimes you may not be using a boneless chicken breast. Okay. Maybe you're using a bone-in. All right. And also maybe you're even using a chicken breast that has the skin on it. All right. So if you're using a bone-in, or if you have the skin on, or if you're using a bone-in with skin on, it's the same thing. All right. Just take your chicken out 10 to 15 minutes before cooking, pat the skin dry. All right. Get all the moisture out. Very, very, very important. All right. Now, the only trick with the skin is when you season it, lift up the skin a little bit. Just kind of lift it up a little bit and season that meat underneath the skin. This will really help get in the flavor all the way through to the meat. Okay, it'll pierce into the meat as you're sauteing or frying your chicken. All right. The most important thing you can do when cooking chicken to keep it nice and moist is, number one, you want to keep it on a medium to low heat. All right. Medium to low or medium to high, but most importantly, medium. You don't want it too high, you don't want it too low, but you want it to be able to sear nicely, because by searing, that's the locking in of all the juices, and that's the searing of all of your seasonings. And if you follow me long enough, you know when I say seasoning, I'm really only referring to kosher salt and black pepper. Now, sure, we can add some garlic powder, some oregano, we can get into that later, but honestly, if you only have kosher salt and black pepper for any protein that you are cooking, that is plenty. Okay? That is absolutely plenty. All right. That is the end of this episode of Cooking for Beginners podcast. I hope you have enjoyed it. Please leave a comment in the section below. I'd love to hear from you if you have any questions about cooking chicken or any kind of protein. I promise to answer right back. Leave a thumbs up and a like. That would be great. Very, very appreciative if you can do that for me as well. And I can't wait to see you on the next episode of Cooking for Beginners podcast with me, Chef Brian. And until then, remember, as always, eat well and stay healthy.